Hello and welcome
to the Creative Jungle podcast. I'm Diana,
and I'm Sam.
and here we're all about bringing creativity to life and business.
So this is the very first official episode.
Woo, woo, woo. And the title is How to Set Up a Creative Business with No Creative Experience. What? It's what we did. It's what we did, and here we're going to share our journey with M.Y.O from scratch. All the gory and all the glory details.
But what is the backstory?
Yes.
So before we set up M.Y.O, it had been a particular passion of mine and Diana's kind of later in her 20s to set up a business, and it was something that I'd explored from my early 20s. I'd always chatted with friends and family about different ideas, but just never got anything started. I kind of had been weaving my way through different jobs, kind of picking up as much learnings as I could, because I always knew at some point I was going to launch this magical business. I decided after working in Virgin Startup, which helps lots of startups around the UK for a couple of years, to basically just take the plunge. I gave myself 6 months, made sure I had some savings, make sure I had very few costs in my life, to just give myself the time to figure out what's next, and had a list of, I don't know, probably
hundreds of ideas.
Hundreds of ideas.
From, what was it, like renewable energy,
to Afro-Caribbean hair salon.
hair, and Bitcoin.
Yes, and none of which was actually creativity, which is what we've obviously gone on to do with M.Y.O. So during that period, Dan and I just started going on lots of creative dates. Really memorable. One was with pop-up painting.
Woo, hi pop-up painting!
We turned into really good friends and supporters of ours. So kind of after doing those dates, we just decided that it would just be magical to make a place that you could go, hang out, get creative, relax, maybe make a book, maybe try some meditation or yoga. And this then we kind of called it Your Place, I think.
Yeah, we were going to call it Your Place.
And we'd mapped it out, and I remember we asked lots of friends of ours for feedback on the idea.
Yeah,
I remember doing those good things.
And then we had this tag, I thought of this tag, Your Place or Mine. But then actually that sounds kind of creepy. But anyway, Your Place was the initial idea.
So that was quite a big topic. We didn't know very much about meditation, mindfulness, creativity, yoga. So we decided to focus on one thing, which was creativity, because that's what we'd kind of started to grow and fall in love with, because we hadn't done it since we were kids, and then it's a whole side of ourselves that we started to see. So that was the backstory. I guess what we should go through maybe is where we're now.
Where we are now.
And that was a quick blast through, and then we'll go through how we got started, the crafts, the money part, the team, the future, all that good stuff, and share lots of insights that might be helpful to you.
So where are we now? We have M.Y.O Creative Studio in central London. We've hosted over 10,000, tens of thousands of people now, and as well as members of the public, we've hosted companies like Google, loads of Monzo teams, IBM, Diageo. We've worked with brands. We've created magical content for film production studio. We've worked at festivals. We have gone to events. We do over 14 different arts and crafts classes, like painting, calligraphy, pottery painting, embroidery, lino printing, life drawing. I mean, I feel like a new one pops up every single time. And, with all of this, we've been able to reach thousands, even millions to some extent with some of the content. And then now we are setting up Creative Jungle Company, and our aim is to bring creativity to life and business through a podcast, Creative Kits, and a creative thinking blog, which will lead to creative thinking workshops, because we're absolutely obsessed by learning more and as much as we can about creativity.
Yeah, and we're really proud to be self-funded and independent still. So let's take you on a bit of a journey about how we've got here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Where do we start?
Getting started, I guess. How we got started. So after doing this, these creative dates, we went, and I really remember it so vividly, on a New Year's walk And we were thinking about, wouldn't it be so cool to have that space where people can come and get creative and play and relax. And over a few months of researching and thinking about this, it came to actually, yes, really focusing on the creative side of things. I especially had this urge to be more creative, and I've had this urge since I started my working life. And I really felt like I need to kind of explore this creative energy I had. So we focused on the idea of having a creative studio, and we researched. I just Googled creative studios in London, and the space that we're in now, the Borough studio that we're in now, which was run by a fantastic lady called Sarah, popped up.
Yeah.
And so we decided to go and visit it because of the location, and it looked gorgeous, very colourful, absolutely magical. And we went there, I think, on a Wednesday night. No, I think it was a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
We went there and did some tile painting, and to this day, I really remember how we felt. We just felt
so vividly,
so calm and so relaxed, and just that, when we say creativity leads to mindfulness, it was exactly that feeling. It felt so mindful and in the flow.
Yeah, and I think you did a really colourful tile bursting with about 15 different colours.
God, I went a bit mad.
And I think it was like a bear on a bike.
You did a bear on a bike, and it was so good. It was so detailed.
And they're both sitting in the studio.
They are. We hold them up to remind everyone, look, this is where we started. As we did that, we were so in awe of this experience. We just thought, we have to do this. This is the business we have to set up and run, because it's absolutely magical.
It was very odd that it just felt right.
Yeah.
Like, I just looked at tons of different ideas and tried to kind of make the time to look into them further, but with this we just naturally did it, spoke about it all the time from when we kind of had the little idea to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that was the big learning actually, was that you know it's so weird. It's like when you go out with someone, quite soon whether they're the right person or not, and there's kind of this strange energy that guides
pulls you. Yeah, absolutely. So after that, and that kind of affirmative experience, we went back a second time to speak with Sarah. I think it was on a Wednesday, and at this point we just thought, we have to come clean, and said, look, we have this idea that we're researching, and you have basically created that dream space that we have in mind.
In our heads.
In our heads. And I think that enthusiasm for what she was doing just came out so much, and amazingly she just said, cool, why don't you try it here? And we were absolutely gobsmacked.
So I think, at that time, she'd pretty much been doing sessions in her spare time, because she had a full-time job also, helping kids, and then the occasional kind of Wednesday night and Saturday session with kids and adults. But we were very clear, I think, at the start, that we were just really passionate about helping more adults get creative, because we'd seen with ourselves that we hadn't been creative since we were kids, and felt that it would be a lot more impactful to help that and just make it a bit more accessible and a bit more kind of fun to explore that creative side that we now know everybody has, because we felt at the time we didn't have it.
No, absolutely. And we we definitely thought that actually kids have the opportunity to be creative a lot, where as grown-ups you kind of lock that side away and just go, no, that's not for me.
Yeah, it's really strange.
Which is really strange, but the more you do it, the more you're like, oh my God, I really have been, and you can explore, and you feel like experimenting, and I think that impacts so many other sides of your life.
Yeah, and there's so many benefits from feeling proud. Like, it is magical to think of an idea and make it, and then 1 or 2 hours later you have it as a memento forever, or you can give it as a gift, and just how relaxing you can feel by being absorbed in one thing. Like, kind of like putting your phone away, just sitting there, dedicating 2 hours now to just learning something new and making or building something. It's really magical.
Yeah. So with all of this, Sarah was like, why don't you try it here? We can do adults classes in the evenings after work, and she can continue doing her kids' classes during the daytime. And actually that ended up being a perfect marriage, because we could then help her pay the rent for the Central London studio. but it also saved us having to fork out tons of money at the start to get started.
Yeah, that was kind of like the first instinct we had, was when we had the idea, it was, we need to find a space, we need to fit it out, we need to make it look magical. We hadn't really quite thought that. Why not collaborate
or partner with someone,
and at least test the idea, and that's what ended up happening, because we decided, to be kind of open and honest with Sarah that this is what we were looking to do, and then something grew from that.
Really Sarah, cool. Our angel.
Yeah.
So the first class we ever did, to really bring this idea to life, because it's all well and good talking about it and being enthusiastic about it, then we're like, okay, we have to do a class. We did that, I think, was it pottery painting and t-shirt printing?
Yeah, and that was about 2 weeks after we spoke to Sarah.
Yeah, that was 2 weeks after we spoke to Sarah, so no time wasted. Got in, and we got in maybe 14 of our friends, charged everyone a tenner, and we had little pizzas and Prosecco starters, and then everyone got stuck in. And boy, what a calamity.
Yes, it was carnage.
It was. It was a really, really valuable experience. I think one thing to note, we thought it was important, even though it was our very first class, to charge something, because it helps get more genuine feedback, and it helps test, will people really actually pay for this thing?
Yeah, like what value will they attach to the experience?
Absolutely. So we did that class and we learned tons. We got loads of feedback, some brutal feedback too, which really helped us grow. Things like having music, things like being less nervous, because that definitely translates onto people. Things like simplifying the classes a bit more. But also great things like the atmosphere and the fact that people got lost in the activity really, again, reinforced what we had in mind as the business idea. So that was really, really useful. And the point here is, you have the idea, but quickly test it to validate it. Just to make sure that A, you like doing it, which we really did, even though it was chaos.
Yeah.
And B, that people enjoy it.
Yeah, and it kind of helped, I think, by doing it very soon after and having to learn the craft that we were showing. It helped us distill the key things for that, and kind of a learning, I guess, also, because we didn't quite know every single step, we grew to realise that we are empowering the people in the studio to be creative themselves. It's not like we're the teacher, we've been doing this for 20 years, here's exactly how you do it. We're there to guide people, to show them the key steps and be around to kind of offer support and encouragement. But the large majority of people are more than capable of just picking up the tips and doing it and making something that's really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And that brings us really nicely onto the crafts. How did we learn the crafts for the 14 different arts and crafts that we do?
Good question. I think the expression, one or two steps ahead, kind of springs to mind.
Oh, that's been our motto, hasn't it?
Yeah, because as we've gone along, we've always added new classes, and in some cases we've got some help to teach the classes, which we'll go through a little bit later. But we've always made sure we're a couple of steps ahead, that we've broken down the crafts into the key things. So from starting with pottery painting and tile painting and t-shirt design, to kind of even now lino printing and lots of different classes. Break it down to the key steps. And I think we always made sure at the start that we were very open and honest with guests in the studio, saying, look, this is what we're doing. We're on a mission to help more people get creative. We think we know what we're talking about, but we might not know everything. So let's kind of work together and be on a bit of a journey during this class to kind of discover something new and make something.
And that really, I think, helps put people at ease as well, when you're like, look, I can guide you through this, let's do this, but also, actually, I've never tried that before. Why don't we try this? Why don't we explore together? I think that makes it feel more
achievable,
achievable, and like we're in this together. And I think that's the thing. Don't pretend to know what you don't know. I think there's there's so much room and so much power in saying, actually I'm not sure, or I'm going to Google this right now, and taking people on the journey with you as you learn.
Yeah, and I think we learned a lot from Sarah, the way she ran the sessions, where it's just really relaxed.
Yeah.
and there wasn't kind of, I've been doing this for 25 years and here's the history of tile painting and lino printing, which I think can really intimidate people.
Yeah.
She was just very relaxed and we learned a lot.
Even though she knew loads, she knew absolutely loads, but her approach in guiding us through the things was very, very relaxed and very explorative.
Yeah, and that kind of meant that we focused a lot to this day and at the start to kind of making just a nice atmosphere.
Yeah.
Because if people are calm and relaxed, including ourselves from learning what we're doing, it just leads to better things.
Yeah. People make better things, and the amount of times that people absolutely surprise us and themselves with what they make and what they've come up with, because they have the space and the materials and not too much guidance for them to just explore and kind of do their thing. Yeah,
and we always ensure there's lots of colours and lots of options and people can choose their own designs and all that kind of stuff. But it still amazes me every time at the end of a class when you walk around just seeing, like, how did you come up with that? Where did this idea come from? A lot of the time people are like, I actually don't know. I just followed my instinct. But it's magic.
It's really cool. So, the moolah, the money bit.
The dollar.
Yeah, this is a challenge. It's a challenge and continues to be. But we started out M.Y.O. very much deciding that we were going to be self-funded and independent, because we wanted to have the flexibility to kind of take it away or move it the way we wanted to move it without any kind of investors pushing us around and saying, we want this, we want that, rightly so, because we've got their money, and we wanted it to be us and our freedom. And, as we said, this collaboration with Sarah ended up saving us tons because we didn't need to outlay anything. I think what we've definitely learned with being self-funded is it's made us say yes to a lot of things. It kind of forced us to have a very open mindset, and for the good and for the bad. We've done things like branded content. We that wasn't a thing until we actually got the opportunity to do it, and then we did it, and that's really helped get revenue in. Diversifying to this many classes, when people come and they're so excited and they say, oh, have you ever tried this? Have you ever tried pottery? Have you ever tried brush lettering? And we go, no, we haven't, but why don't we? Because it's made it become very demand-led.
Yeah, and kind of I think what we've always tried to ensure, which I think drives people nuts that are on the team, is just obsessing about customer service and the experience, from making sure there's enough stock to making sure people are on time if they're hosting a class, to getting back to people quickly. It's kind of because there was always that money pressure, we always felt we really needed to over-deliver on the creative experience for people so that they'd go on and share and tell other people and hopefully come back, which is kind of what's happened a lot, is that we've spent very little on marketing since we've got up and running because we've been largely driven by word of mouth and people just seeing, hey, these guys, they do lots of creative things. I have this idea around creativity. Let's check in with them and see what they can do. So that's definitely really helped us, like just obsessing about the quality and making sure that every single guest that has come and that we deal with has a special experience that's memorable.
And an experience that they'll want to share it. They'll want to share with one or two people, just to kind of keep that momentum going. However, I think it's worth mentioning the kind of short-term mindset as well, though.
Yeah, like definitely with this mindset of saying yes, long hours, making sure that we deliver and all that stuff, it has made us think quite short-term on stuff, because it is, it's still stressful to this day going, will I be able to pay everybody? Will we be able to pay rent? Do we have enough funds for the bit of marketing that we hope to do this month? Like, that is stressful. We don't have a chunk of money in the bank account that we can kind of fall back on.
When we got started, we saved up around 6 months of savings that we knew we could use either to pay ourselves and to pay for stuff in the business. And I would definitely advise anyone who's thinking of starting a business to make sure they have that, just because it allows you to then focus on getting started. However, you do burn through that cash, quite quickly. But you hope by then you have something that kind of is self-sustaining, and can pay you and pay for itself. But it's not often that businesses have a big cash fund, so it can lead to a lot of kind of short-term, oh, quick, let's do this just because we need to get money in. And do you want to talk through the biggest? Yeah, so the biggest mistake we've made.
Lots of yes to stuff, which has been good, and collaborating with the Life Lessons Festival at the barbecue, and working with Diageo to help launch a brand where we were like, Dan and I were the face of an Irish whiskey launch basically, and we had creative sessions. That was all good and helped get funds in and help kind of grow what we were doing. But because we have such a big mission to help people get creative, when we were still sharing the studio in Borough, we were like, hey, we should have our own studio, we should kind of run our own thing, so let's set up our own space. And kind of with the power of optimism,
so much
happened to discover a project or a space that was being built in Peckham called Peckham Levels. And the deal there was that we would be a space on one of the levels where people could come in and be creative, obviously, but the deal was that we had a room with nothing in it, and we had to fit it all out. So there's no electricity.
Oh my god, not even a light bulb, not even a switch.
Nothing at all. It's like, cool, there you go. And the deal was kind of, I keep saying deal for no reason, so apologies for that. The arrangement was going to be that we'd build a space, we'd build a team that can kind of share the creativity with people, but they would help drive people to the space, because we were very conscious at the time before we went into it that we just wouldn't have enough resources ourselves to kind of keep the Borough studio going and then grow a brand new studio and get lots of people to come. So we went on a journey of working with Studio Height, who are a great team.
Hi, Studio Height. Yeah, a young design team who helped us fit out this studio
so they kind of helped
by hand.
They helped us design it, they helped us build it. They were sawing late into the night with us, all that kind of stuff. And we went for a couple of months kind of going about doing that.
A lot of 1 a.m.s, 4 a.m.s, 5:30 a.m.s, that one time, actually not that one time, when we had to finish at least most of the studio because we had a hen party to host. We were definitely there till about 5:30, and I just thought, what has this become?
So that was a hen party. So it was going to be the first party in the Peckham Level studio, and it was probably about 3 weeks away from when the date was going to be that they got in touch, and we said, why not? Let's give it a go. The build will be done by then. Happy days. It'll be all good. But so for the next 3 weeks we helped the Studio Height guys out tons. Obviously still trying to keep the Borough studio going as well. And the night before, I remember leaving at 5:30, 6 in the morning before the hen party was going to happen. It was bright. We're like, right, let's go get some sleep, come back.
Let's go have a nap and then come back.
Hoover up the remaining sawdust, because at that point we'd only had half the studio was done really. So we're going to kind of cover and put a sheeting basically, so you couldn't see the other side, which was like
it was just a dump. It was literally
horrific. There's obviously no signage even around the building at this point for people to find us, but we grabbed lots of stuff from the Borough studio and make it look really pretty, and then Dana hosted the class and it went really well, thankfully, and we got really good feedback.
They were so lovely, absolutely.
So that was good to just to say yes and kind of really figure it out. But what we kind of grew to realise over time was that we just being there wasn't giving us the life we wanted. Like, we both work incredibly hard and long hours, do lots of the marketing and that kind of thing during the day, and host classes with the team in the evenings, but this wasn't why we set up a business. To be working 80 hours a week, running back and forth to Borough, to
there was
Peckham,
a lot of
home.
Carrying things in between studios, and a lot of finish a Borough at 10 and then take a cab to Peckham at like midnight to set up, and it was just actually a lot of stress, and it put a strain on us as well.
It definitely did, because all we were talking about was M.Y.O and not really doing fun stuff ourselves.
And not relaxing and feeling like we were connecting without one of us being like, oh, have you done that? It for me especially, I'll speak for myself, it definitely kind of, the experience over time kind of tarnished my love for the business for sure, because I just felt so drained, and I felt like for the amount of energy I was putting in, it just wasn't having as much of an impact as I wanted it to have.
So kind of what we decided, unfortunately there was a 1-year break clause, and like there was lots of good stuff from this experience. We learned how to build a studio from scratch, which we hadn't done. we worked with Diageo on the brand activation, which worked really well with the Peckham Level studio. But yeah, there's just...
And we met loads of different people as well at the Peckham studio. You know, we got kind of a new client base, being location based. You know, we got more people who lived further South London, and a lot of kind of arty creative people as well, because Peckham is known for being a kind of a creative hub. And that was awesome as well, to kind of meet that and be inspired by those people, and the people who are in the levels themselves as well.
The entrepreneurs that were working there. But yeah, it was basically too much work, and we felt we didn't have enough support with the space to kind of get people to come, and we had to do all the marketing ourselves, which we didn't have the resources. So we left it. And over that time, luckily, it ended up that we took over the Borough studio. So the magical angel that is Sarah had decided to move out of London, and we ended up taking over the Borough studio. So obviously there's lots of full rent and all that kind of stuff that we had there. So we had to cut our losses basically. Even though I think it was just getting to be kind of breaking even.
It was actually starting to, the Peckham Level studio, but at this point was starting to pick up speed, but we just were kind of over it by then, to be honest.
So we now know, I think, from that, just to maybe say yes, not as much. Be a little bit less trusting, and do a bit more research on people you collaborate with, and just really get the sense of the energy and the follow through that can happen. And I think that's really going to stand us in good stead for whatever happens in the future.
Absolutely. It's such a balance between experimenting and being open to things, but also kind of judging how much is needed to follow through and execute it well.
Exactly.
Especially when you have limited funds.
So that brings us onto the team, and we definitely couldn't have done any of this without a great team around us.
Especially building that studio, it was so nice. How the team rallied around and was so up for kind of coming in and painting for 3-4 hours, painting chairs or designing things on their phones to see how it could work in the studio. It was lovely.
Fortunately, we could see that the team that we had built around us at that time was really passionate about creativity and helping people get creative. So at the moment, in terms of the structure that we have, it's myself and Diana, who is working full time but is coming back into the business.
I'm coming back into the business,
in a couple of months, which we're really, really excited about.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too.
And we've Kirsty, our general manager, who's been with us for nearly a year and has been phenomenal at kind of helping us grow and taking initiative.
Kirsty kind of came when I was leaving, which was such a heaven sent, because that, it would have been so hard for it to just all be on Sam by himself. So Kirsty has been an amazing help. In kind of taking my hands off.
It could be worth chatting about that actually. About the leaving.
About the leaving. Oh God.
You left me, Diana. You left me.
Leaving. Yeah. So I as I was saying about being kind of tarnished by the experience of running the studio, and just the strain it was putting on Sam and I. I just felt like it was to kind of salvage the situation that one of us needed to leave, and Sam was so much more kind of committed to making it work. He's very stubborn. He's more stubborn than I am. But no, Sam was much more committed and had much more belief in the business still at that point than I did. So I felt like, you know what, I need to just leave and do something else. I did go back into a finance role, but in a smaller company and in a very creative jewelry company, which was owner run as well, because I wanted to learn how do owners successfully run their business, and it just felt like the right time to take that break from the business. It was sad, and I did feel a little bit like, oh, am I giving up on this too early? I know, I definitely, you do feel like that. But then equally I'm like, oh, I did still want to be involved, and I still wanted to know what's going on.
We spoke about it every day.
We still spoke about it every day. And actually what has happened in this year of working in the of not working in the business and taking a job is I've grown to appreciate more from the outside what M.Y.O does for people, and how fun and how creative and how wonderful the people who come to explore that side of themselves with us is. And yeah, sometimes you kind of need to take that step away and look at it almost objectively and go, yeah, do I really like this? Do I really value it? And it's not saying, oh, I look at it and I think, oh, it's perfect. No, definitely seen, it's also helped see some kind of flaws or things we can do better or things we can pivot into. But it's highlighted that, no, I really do think it is a really lovely business. It is something I want to be spending my time doing, and that thinking of, when I die, will I be sad to have been involved in this, or would I have lived a better life for me having done this? And it's definitely the latter, and that's kind of prompted my coming back again, because it's like, actually, when I look back on my life, I really want M.Y.O to be a big part of it, and everything that we do around it now, including Creative Jungle. I really want that to be,
And a big thing, I think, as well for you, Diana, was about getting a house, or getting like the stability of owning
a base.
Where you live, because I think that was a big list tick that you had for a long time.
It was.
And it was going to be really hard, just from a practical perspective, to get a mortgage when there's a couple, two people with limited income because they're setting up their own business and largely using their savings to kind of get it going, to actually qualify for a mortgage, especially if you want somewhere in London. So kind of, I think that was part of
the harsh reality of it.
As well was and thank you very much for doing that, because we're sat in where we bought now, and we feel incredibly lucky for that, and that wouldn't have happened at this point if Anna hadn't gone back to work as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a point here is about what you value. So, when you sometimes you feel like, gosh, I'm being pulled in this other direction, and you just have to think, okay, what do I value most right now? And I valued us obviously not fighting and salvaging our relationship, and also valued getting that base, because it just was something so important to me personally, and actually needed me to pivot away and then come back in.
Yes, I always knew she'd be back.
You did always know.
I was like, okay, bye, see you soon.
That's so true, and I'm so happy to be back. Yeah.
So back to the team. So we've gone through the structure now. The main thing I think with the team and trying to build something with the limited resources we had was finding the right team at the right time.
Yes.
But basically with what we had. So we've always focused on seeing, do the people that we bring in, and there's been tons of people now, and they've been so incredibly helpful and supportive of what we're doing, but do they have the energy to help others get creative fundamentally? So they don't have to have an arts and crafts background, but do they just have a passion and an energy to help other people do it? And also been very much rewarding of people taking initiative, especially at times when we were in Peckham Levels and the Burr Studio running around. There were so many things to do that, like, people on the team that we brought in just taking the initiative and pushing things forward had a huge impact, which was fantastic. So when I guess we started bringing creative freelancers into the team was about 6 months in to setting up, where up to that point we'd both been doing the sessions, largely Diana, because she's just far better at hosting and is a bit more personable.
Just have the energy.
The M.Y.O itself. We brought in Polly and Amy, who did lino printing and calligraphy in reverse order. And then we grew to kind of getting a pool of creative freelancers when we had the 2 studios. So there's about 8 people who were musicians and theatre directors and poets, comedians, also a real mix which brought such a kind of nice energy to things and a real kind of passion for what we were doing.
Absolutely. And when we were interviewing for these roles and looking for people to join the studio team, different thinking we had, was thinking more on, are they passionate about helping other people get creative, exploring creativity? Are they passionate about kind of helping people do that, versus are they really good at painting, or do they have 10 years experience doing lino prints? As we said before, that mattered less than the atmosphere.
Yeah, because we know ourselves that we can teach what we do quite quickly to people, so it's all about what they're like, really, and how helpful they are.
Absolutely, that was the kind of that's the essence of what we wanted to show in the class.
Exactly. And you learn that from somebody within 10 minutes. I guess, what do we do to help that and be really, really sure? Because we were very precious at the start that if we weren't hosting, the people on the team, they're a reflection of us. They're a reflection of the experience, and we wanted to always make sure that when people come in, they enjoyed it. So we kind of had a phone interview, then we had a proper, little more formal interview in the studio, and then we spent 3 to 4 hours making with people that we brought in to kind of really chat to them and figure out what they're about, to see how they overcome challenges with the making as well. And then we'd always ghost them on sessions and just be there as a support to make sure that they felt comfortable with what they were doing. But yeah, the team has been absolutely phenomenal since we've gone on, especially at the start where it was really chaotic and we were running around so much. They just kind of did an incredible job.
Yeah, they really
did. So that's the team, and it's evolved since to just be a bit more kind of formal, a bit more permanent staff-wise, because that's what we need as a business now.
Right now.
We needed tons of flexibility at the start because things were up and down, but now things have got a lot more stable, so we've kind of adjusted the team accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else on team, or am I babbling on here?
No, nothing else. And I think that's covered, and we're just so thankful to everyone who's been part of and has present, past, and will be future. Really thankful to everyone, because we genuinely couldn't have done this and gotten to this point without them, without you guys. So thank you so much.
Okay, last big chunk of our first podcast episode,
which
I can't believe I'm saying, because I've been talking about doing a podcast for months.
Ages,
months. So what's the future like, Diana, and what have we learned from the past?
The future. So, right now, we're sat at home in the middle, hopefully, fingers crossed, towards the end of COVID-19, and the studio is shut. And it's really forced us to think about what's going to come next. We've spent time almost training our mindset to feel more agile and to think every opportunity, every sort of not great situation does have a flip side and an opportunity that can come from it. So now we're thinking, okay, Creative Jungle Company is going to be our platform for doing creative kits and doing this podcast, which we're so excited about. And then we've also had time to really dive into creative thinking and learn loads more about creativity with that. On the M.Y.O side, we have now launched our online classes, which we're really excited about. And soon we'll be able to pair them with the Creative Jungle kits as well. So that will enable us to essentially bring the studio experience into people's homes or into people's offices, wherever they want to be. And that's what we're gunning towards and working towards right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you mentioned content creation, but that's going to be a big piece as well.
Absolutely.
Just to help people explore all the ways they can get creative. I think a big thing from now as well is just the mindset.
Yeah.
We could look at the whole COVID-19 thing and go, our business is nothing now.
It's a mess.
We'd actually had
we did feel like that a little bit at the beginning, didn't we?
Like it was going to be a very bumper March. We had lots of bookings and hen parties and companies coming in. It was going to be great. And then for income to go to zero very quickly, we could have just said, hey, let's pack this in and let's go get a job, or let's just, who knows.
Yeah.
But we've kind of taken the view that we've built something over the last few years, and that's a really good foundation for what we do next. And we have lots of contacts and connections and a rapport with loads of people that have been into the studio with us.
And it's been so great to see so many guests who've come and been involved with, or taken part at M.Y.O, just totally support us and give us ideas and constantly checking in on how we're doing, and future customers being so understanding of the situation and still keen to move their bookings to next year. So
I guess in times of a crisis you kind of grow to realize that there's a lot of love out there, and sometimes you don't realize that as you're going through the journey. So like, it's definitely been a good time to reflect on potentially the impact of what we've been trying to do. So that's kind of the future. Another thing we're very conscious of is just giving back more as we go. It's been so tough as we've gone along to give back as much as we could with being self-funded and kind of being resource constrained, and we've always offered discounts for charities, but we know there's a lot more we can do to kind of help people, especially now when there's like a lot of people going through a really tough time. So we're very conscious of that, and as always, to be more supportive of the team where we can. We've always offered free classes, free time in the studio, and space for rehearsals and promoting what else they're doing. But we're always going to strive to do more and kind of help them set up their own creative businesses. Yeah,
absolutely. If anyone listening has, ideas of things that we can help promote or get involved in and support, with M.Y.O and now Creative Jungle, please let us know. We absolutely love to hear it. So you can let us know at Creative Jungle Co on Instagram or at M.Y.O London on Instagram. And would love to hear your ideas, because as Sam said, there is as we grow the business more, there is always more we can do.
Definitely, to help others. Definitely.
Now to recap.
Here we go.
We've gone through loads of different things. We've gone through our backstory.
You've made it this far.
Getting started. Crafts, the money, the team, the future. I think, if we distill all of this into, I guess, what are useful tips in terms of thinking creatively or acting creatively and learning to be more creative, I think the first thing is putting yourself out there and just being collaborative and being open with what you're intending to do will definitely attract things that will help you, either through feedback, which is useful in propelling you forward, or just amazing opportunities follow your way. We could not have even gotten started as quickly as we did if we hadn't been open with Sarah, and luckily Sarah was an angel, and that opportunity for collaboration came through almost out of nowhere. So that's the first thing. I think the second thing is thinking a little bit out the box, or rather, not being afraid to break the rules. Approaching arts and crafts as accountants meant that we had to distill it and break it down into almost the simple steps and how can we learn this from absolute scratch. But actually that helped us approach it in a way, I guess, maybe an artist might not have approached it.
Like, it's almost, if you don't know the rules in what you're doing,
it's easy to break it.
And you can kind of come up with new ways of doing things. We've always gone with how we feel and followed our instinct on things, and kind of come back to what would we think is enjoyable for other people. And we could always spend tons of time researching, and there is other creative spaces obviously in London, spend tons of time looking at them and learning from them and all that kind of thing, but they will be doing it their way. We can do it our way, and like, we can only kind of figure out ourselves from looking at ourselves, how we like to do it and what we think could be impactful, and then just giving it a try and seeing how that is received.
Absolutely. I think that's a really important point. We've approached it our way, and it's kind of that point of self-expression. A business is an expression of yourself, so it might be easy, or you might feel like, I need to do it like this because this is what these guys are doing. No, if your instinct isn't telling you that, and you're feeling that actually this is the way you'd rather express it, I think there's a lot of power in that, because you're most powerful when you're most authentic.
It's amazing now with social media and all those kind of things, and I know people have different opinions on it, but you can reach people who are into what you're doing. So it's kind of, the more true you are to yourself, you will attract the people that are into that as well. And then good things will hopefully happen
from that. And another point, well, similar to all of this, but it's just doing it. So you've thought about, you thought outside the box, you've put yourself out there, you've collaborated and been open. just, all of this is just doing it, because as Sam said, you can spend ages thinking, and I'm so guilty of that. I spend ages thinking and writing and planning, and at some point you just have to put a hard stop and say, you know what, as imperfect as this may be, I'm just gonna effing do it.
Now, to caveat that, when you say yes, you need to follow through and make sure that it's done properly.
Yes.
And like as we've gone through this and shared, we've been guilty of saying yes to things and then like figuring out afterwards how to do it, and that's fine to do that, but you need to make sure that you really don't take on too much and then deliver something that's below expectations or below the value that you're receiving for doing it. So kind of always be sure that, it's great to say yes if it feels like it's the right thing to do, but just make sure that you have the time, which is, I guess, the biggest commodity, is do you have the time or do you have the bit of support to make sure that you deliver on what you're saying yes to? Yeah, absolutely.
Once you've done this thing and created your beautiful creation, be it the art, be it a business, be it a movement, to really bring it to life is sharing with others and growing with others. We have naturally been able to share it with others because we are a studio, so people come and take part in it. But I think that's been the most rewarding part of it, is like meeting everybody and seeing how inspired they feel. And some people have even been triggered to change their careers because of coming to a few sessions at the studio, which sounds mad to say, but it's happened. You never know how you will be able to inspire and lift somebody else by sharing
and like
your creation.
That's what happened with Kirsty.
Is
that she was brought, so we just listed the job for general manager, and she was brought to the studio by a few friends of hers.
Oh my God, absolutely.
She was feeling a bit down in the job that she was in at that time. Came, loved it, happened to go on our website yesterday and see there was a job, and very quickly ended up quitting her job, and she's become part of the team. So I guess but kind of being open and sharing our journey and being totally honest that we were non-creators when we set this up. We'd kind of finance creators when we set this up. We'd kind of financy startup-y jobs before this. That's helped other people kind of look at things in their life a little bit more. And hopefully from the journey people have seen from a business perspective what can be done as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last, to sign this all off, I would say is the last learning, the why.
Yes. Crucial,
because that's how it always that's always the start and end and middle of everything, is why are you doing this, especially when you're feeling a bit meh and you've hit an obstacle, which everybody hits through whatever creative journey you're going through. You have to remind yourself, why are you doing this? Because that really gets the fire going again. Our why is helping people get creative, because for me, I felt I had that creative energy, but I just didn't know what to do with it, and I didn't know how to explore it, and I just felt so kind of stuck before. And I in this small way, I don't want anyone to feel like that again. I want people to feel like, okay, cool, they might have this energy, they might feel stuck right now what they're doing in their daytime, but there's this place that they can come to and let that go and explore and have fun and get creative, or get a kit and do that and have fun, and and just try something new, because that's my why. I think that's your why.
And I think a lot of people struggle, and I did as well, for 10, 15 years trying to figure out what my why was and what kind of business that I wanted to run. And I totally understand if you're listening that you don't quite know what your why is or what your purpose or passion might be in life. And it's a long journey potentially.
And it might change, as you go through and change in your life. It might change, but it's just a good guiding question and a good reminder when you're doing something. Think, why am I doing this? What impact do I want this to have?
And the advice that I think we'd give is, in the pursuit of your why or your passion, just try different things and kind of give them a bit of a good shot, because you don't know until you get started on something how you're going to react. And it really is when you know that it's the right thing to do. If you're trying to figure out, for example, what I'm going to spend the next year on, you could start with what's something that I hate, what's something that really frustrates me in my life that I think I could do better, and see how that goes, and see how you kind of evolve from giving that a go.
Or you can sound the opposite. What do I love? What do I really enjoy doing? Or what do I get lost in when I'm doing it? So you don't necessarily think you enjoy it, but when you do it, you're totally absorbed in that. That could be a good place to start as well.
So to kind of summarize, I guess if we can do it, you definitely can do it.
Absolutely. We hope this has been a valuable, kind of insightful journey through how we started M.Y.O, how we started a creative business with no creative experience. We're by no means experts. We've just been learning along the way, and we still have so much more to learn from people further on in the journey, and kind of and through reading and learning and meeting new people. So as we do that, we will definitely be sharing our learnings.
And please, 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 on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on, like it, comment it, share with other people, just to spread the word out there. We've never done this before.
Any comments and feedback would also be absolutely amazing. Let us know what you learned. Let us know what you'd like to learn more of. You can find us at Creative Jungle Co. on Instagram.
Yes.
Or at M.Y.O London.
Yes. And to wrap up, Creative Jungle Company
is all about bringing creativity to life and business.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So well done for getting this far and finishing the podcast episode. We're so happy that you did, and we hope you enjoyed it. As a special thank you, here are some bloopers from the very first episode Dana and I have ever done.
So, Sam, do you want to talk us through? Sorry.
We've grown to start doing them. Sorry. In their business.
But maybe.
Thirdly.